you want this on repeat. You wanna know what it's like to be me. Walk in my shoes, see the world through my eyepiece. Know what it's like to feel what I feel. I stack another win. Not watching the scoreboard.
What's up, guys? Don Mavrick here. This is the first episode of Life of Mavrick. And I just, a lot of times you guys see me on Instagram and the social media platforms, but I really have not had a chance to really, show you guys much more than, short form content. So I just want to use this to give you a little bit more of an in-depth look at life outside of the social media. So, of course, we're working out at Goals Venice, and we're doing chest today. I started out with a basic chest press just to kind of activate the muscle. This works more so the mid chest, and the purpose of this is really just to pump blood into the muscle. Slow movement, really just focusing on the technique, not so much on the weight. It's a 45 and a 35, so 45 and 30, 70, 80 pounds on each side, roughly, which, again, relatively light, but just more so focused on the technique as opposed to the amount of weight that's being pushed. Bodybuilding is not about the amount of weight that you're pushing. It's about how you're utilizing that weight to break down the muscle. And muscle is not built in the gym. It's built when you're resting. So the whole goal of going to the gym is to break down the muscle, as much muscle as you can. And then when you're going home and you're eating and you're sleeping and resting, that's when the muscle is being rebuilt and coming back bigger than it was before. So again, just focusing on the technique, range of motion, pushing through. And, you want to keep these reps relatively low. So like I would say 8 to 12. Moving on to the next one. It's another form of a chest press. This is more so for the sides of the delts. And, you're in technicality, you want to work the entire the entire pec muscle. You want to work the entire muscle. So you want to utilize different exercises that are going to attack that muscle from the different sides. So pushing, squeezing, pushing, squeezing, pushing, squeezing, stretching, squeezing. You're squeezing the middle of the chest, squeezing blood into that muscle, pumping that blood into the muscle, squeezing, full range of motion, squeezing. I'm not focusing on how much weight I could push. I'm focusing on how effective my movement is in order to stimulate that muscle to the maximum result. And so again, we're keeping the reps range relatively low. I think I did about 4 sets of 12 on this one. So again, 8 to 12 is it's a moderate rep range, especially if you're just starting out. And this is the third exercise. We're moving on to another form of a chest press, which is more of a conventional chest press. This works the entire pec, and it's more so similar to like a regular bench press. It's working that middle, but also stimulating the top and bottom areas of the pec. Relatively lightweight, just pumping blood into that muscle. Pumping blood into the muscle, focusing on feeling our way through, full range of motion. You're going relatively light on these as well. I believe on this one I started at 16 and then I pyramided down to right about 5, I think it was, on the last one. So just keeping the rep range low. And typically we're sticking to right about 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps. And again, just still pushing through that weight, stretching out the pec, pushing that weight, pushing, going through that range of motion. There we go. And on the third exercise is going to be pec deck, which is a form of flies. Flies are very interesting. You could do flies with dumbbells. You could do flies on with cables, and you also have this machine, the pec deck. And what this does is it stretches out the pecs and allows those fibers to be stimulated, to be broken down, stimulated, and then again coming back stronger, creating that striated look. When you stretch, when you pose or whatever you're doing, when you can see those lines, the blood vessels in the chest, that comes from these exercises. These are very important. With this one, I was going obviously a little bit heavier, and so I believe the rep range on this was probably about 3 to 8 or 10 overall. I started relatively heavy, and this is more so for strength, and just full range of motion, strength, and really getting into that muscle and stimulating it. So, but I would recommend, if you guys are starting with these, start with something that's a little bit lighter. You could do maybe say 10 to 12 reps and really get that blood pumped into the muscle. Great exercise for building, squeezing. We're stretching and squeezing. And guys, last but not least, we're doing incline chest press. Incline chest press. That's working the upper part of the pectoral muscle, creating that fuller, more filled out look that we're going for. And again, I'm not really focusing. Well, I am kind of focusing more so on the weight on this one. But it's not. How do I say it the right way? I'm focusing on the weight, but I'm not focusing on the weight at the same time. So it's more so focusing on, again, pumping that full range of motion, pumping that blood into the muscle, and just utilizing that full range of motion. I'm going a bit heavier, but I'm also still not putting all my emphasis into the amount of weight that I'm pushing, although I tend to go a little bit heavier on these for the last one just to get that maximum result. Squeezing, stretching, squeezing at the top, stretching, squeezing at the top, squeezing at the top, stretching, squeezing at the top. Yes, sir. We're sticking to a moderately low to high rep range. So I did 10, pyramided down to about 6, and then I got actually 4 extra sets of roughly 6 to 8. Just going through that motion, stretching, squeezing at the top. And that's about it, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.